Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we've all heard the horror stories about transitioning your toddler into a big bed or into a toddler bed. Parents and moms are terrified the minute their baby starts crawling out of their crib and all of the things that will entail after the fact. So I'm going to share my experience of how I transitioned my 2-year-old into a big bed and tips and tricks that helped us and some products that helped us. So if you want to know more about this topic, then keep watching. Okay, so I have a 2-year-old son named Brody. He's almost 2.5, and we began transitioning him into a big bed when he was right around 2. So basically, little backstory about us. When I had Brody, we lived in a really tiny 1-bedroom apartment, so he shared a room with us. So because it was so small, he actually slept in a pack and play for that first year and a half of his life. Well, then we recently moved and he got his own room. So when we moved, he was still in the pack and play, but I was really eager to get him a nice bed. So I went back and forth because he was not crawling out of the pack and play. He wasn't quite 2 yet, and I was like, I don't want to mess up a good thing because he's always been a really good sleeper. So I thought, I could buy him a crib, but that seemed like kind of a waste because he's always been pretty big for his age. And so I thought if I buy him a crib, for all I know, he could learn to crawl out in a month, and then we're now we have to transition him to a toddler bed, when all in all, I'd rather just buy him a twin size bed and him have a bigger bed that he can use for longer. So the crib thing seemed like a total waste. But like I said, wasn't really ready to switch him fully in case that messed up his sleep, because everyone was told me all the horror stories. I mean, you hear everything about how their kid was once a good sleeper, and then as soon as they put them in a big bed, all of a sudden that went out the door. They were getting up all night long, they were getting up early in the morning, all this stuff. So I don't know, I was a little wasn't sure what to do. So we waited a couple of months, and then around his 2nd birthday, which was in June, at the end of June, I thought, okay, maybe if we get him a nice big bed for his birthday, and then kind of start that process. So we did, but the bed actually didn't get delivered until July, so a couple weeks into July. So now by this point, he was, just barely over 2, almost 2 years and 1 month. So the bed came in and we were like, all right, we're ready. So, oh, and side note, I at this time was pregnant, so I was due at the end of August. So I was also wrestling with, okay, in all the articles you read, people say don't transition your kid to a big bed right before some big life change happens in your family, whether that be moving or having another baby or whatever the case may be. So my time was running out. Either I needed to do it to give us about 8 weeks to have him be comfortable in the bed before the baby got here, or I needed to wait a while until after I had my daughter. So we just decided to get him the bed around his 2nd birthday. So we did. Like I said, so his birthday is June 22nd. The bed came in July 14th or 15th, I think. And so we set it up that night, and we're like, okay, we're ready. We're done with the pack and play, whatever. So we set up the big bed in his room, and we broke down the pack and play and totally got it out of there. And we were geared up and ready and all of that. And so then the night came, and Brody, keep in mind, when we set it up, he was super excited. He was jumping all over it. He was pumped. And then the night came, and oh my gosh, it was crazy. We laid him down, and then he just broke down, started bawling his eyes out. And it wasn't he seemed very freaked out and really scared by it. And I was oh, it just made me so sad because he seemed really, really scared. So we tried to lay him down, and then we walked out of the room, and he immediately jumped up, ran out the door, like he knows how to open the doors, ran out and just was bawling. So we reset him, we put him back in the bed, and then closed the door, and the same thing happened. And I just didn't feel right about it, because I just thought, he is totally freaked out. Like we had been talking about it for a few weeks, but he could only like understand so much. And I think it was just too much. I think all of a sudden, like, he didn't even know what happened. Like, his pack and play was gone that he has always loved, and now he's got this big bed, and like, it was just all too new. So I was like, okay, do you want your baby bed back? And he's like, baby bed, you know? So we set the pack and play back up in his room that night, and he slept in it that night. And like went right to sleep and was really happy with that. And so then I thought, okay, like, I'll try it again. So we tried again the next night, and kind of the same thing happened. So I thought, you know what? I'm not gonna push it. We're just gonna let him be comfortable with the bed, like begin to get comfortable with the bed being in his room, and him, like, during the day, he can get up on it, he can climb up there, he can kind of just see what it's all about. And then at night and for naps, he can still sleep in his pack and play, so he still gets a good night's sleep. And then, you know, just let the transition happen gradually. I just thought, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just too much too soon. So I started reading like a lot of articles and things like that. And, you know, some people were saying, like sleep experts were saying, it's good if you can have like the baby bed set up in the room with the new bed, because they can get comfortable. But then I started thinking, like, will he ever, if he has that option, like, will he ever want to sleep in the big bed? But I just kind of went with it and just was like, we'll just see what happens. Also, up until this point in his pack and play, Brody had never had a blanket, and he had never had a pillow or anything like that. So then putting him in the big bed with all these blankets and pillows, and I think it was just like, whoa, what is happening? And when we, like, leading up to us getting the bed, I ordered him a small, like, toddler pillow from Amazon, and I'll link that below. It's the pillow that he uses now. And I ordered him these bumpers for the side of the bed, so that he wouldn't roll out, and all of that. And so he had, like I said, I had tried over the time that he was in the pack and play. At times I would give him a blanket or give him a stuffed animal, and before I could get out of the room, he would throw it out. Like, he never wanted anything in there with him. So he just wasn't used to it. So when we went through this whole process, I thought, okay, well, in his pack and play, I'm going to give him his little pillow. I'm going to give him, you know, his blanket or whatever. And so then he can begin to get used to having a blanket and a pillow in his pack and play, in his like safety net that he's used to. And then that'll help him be used to the big bed with the blankets and the pillow. So we started doing that. And then, you know, as like time went on, a little bit of time, a few days, a week or so, he would talk about the big bed. He'd be so excited about it, but he didn't want to sleep in it. And so I would ask him, I'd say, do you want to sleep in your big bed? And some nights he'd say, yes, 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 sleep in the big bed. And so we'd put him in the big bed, and then he'd totally freak out. And he'd say, no, baby bed. So we'd put him back in his pack and play. And so we just kind of let it happen really gradually for him and let him kind of lead the charge. And I told my husband, I said, you know what, one day he's gonna wake up and he's gonna say, like, I'm sleeping in the big bed. Like, it's just gonna click for him one day. I just know it. And so we kept being like super patient with that. And I even, somewhere along the way, like maybe a week in, I would put like his, like, he's obsessed with Mickey Mouse, so I would put like his little stuffed animals, like Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. Like, I'd put them in his big bed and tuck them in over there. I'd say, okay, we're gonna tuck them into your big bed. And I said, but Brody's gonna sleep in the baby bed. And he'd say, no, Goofy, Mickey. I'd say, you can sleep with them when, you know, when you sleep in your big bed. So if you wanna sleep with them, you have to sleep in the big bed. They don't go in the baby bed. And so I felt like that also kind of helped to entice him, like, okay. And then he would wake up and I'd say, look, they stayed in their big bed. They're right there, you know? And he seemed excited about tucking them in and stuff into the big bed at night. So that was maybe that helped. I don't know. A lot of people talk about taking your child to the store to pick out like fun sheets. We didn't do that. I just got him black sheets because it matched his room. And that may seem boring, but I couldn't find any like Mickey Mouse sheets that were cute, and I don't know, they just didn't match his room, so I just wasn't into that. I was like, you know, we're just gonna do kind of the straightforward thing, and turns out he didn't end up needing that, so that was fine. So then moving forward, like I said, up until this point, he's never crawled out of the pack and play, he's never tried to, all this stuff. Well, then one day he said, you know, sleep in big bed, sleep in big bed. And so I was like, okay, and this was at nap time. So I said, okay, we'll sleep in the big bed. So I laid him down and he ran out. Like in half a second. I'm telling you, like I could barely even get the door closed before he was running out. And he thinks it's a game. He was laughing and all this stuff. And I would be very like straightforward, not smiling, not like giving him the attention from that. I'd say, no, Brody, it's time to sleep. Let's go back to your bed. And I'd go and I'd reset him. And then he would do the same thing, and he kept doing it over and over. And so finally, after like 3 or 4 times, I said, okay, we're gonna sleep in your baby bed because you have to stay in your room. You have to stay in bed. And so I put him into the pack and play, and I close the door and I walk out. And next thing I know, he comes running out of his room. And I was like thinking for a second, like, did I lay him in the wrong bed? And so then I'm like, okay, so then I go back and I put him back in the pack and play, close the door, and he comes running out again. And he did it like 3 or 4 times, and I could hear him climbing out. So I was like, wow, like all of a sudden he just knows how to climb out. Like I guess maybe he's known all this time and he just hasn't done it. So I thought, okay, we're done with the pack and play. Like it's just time to just do it, because he obviously isn't gonna stay in there either. So we packed it up, like, you know, later that night or whatever. And basically that day at nap time, I reset him from 1:30 until 4 o'clock. So I gave up at 4 o'clock. And basically it was repetitive of him running out of the room about like a second after I could get out the door. So if you can imagine how many times I reset him during that time frame, it was an unbelievable amount. I basically just stood there and reset him, and he just kept laughing and kept thinking it was funny, and I just kept saying no. And finally at 4 o'clock, like I don't want him to take a nap at 4 o'clock, like you know, that would just mess up his whole nighttime thing. So I was really consistent that day. And so then the next day, you know, we did it again, and I just kept resetting him, and I think he finally fell asleep around 3:30 or so. And during all of this time, he wasn't crying, he wasn't upset, he wasn't freaked out by the bed anymore. That had completely gone away. He was just, I think, like he had this new freedom, and it's like this game, and so he was just running out. So I think the next day he kind of did that again, but he ended up falling asleep for a little bit. And then at nighttime, I want to say the same thing kind of happened, but not as bad. And then by the 3rd day, he stayed, and he's never come out again. Like literally, like, oh no, at night, that first night he slept in there, he did come out. We woke up to him, like he stayed when we laid him down, but then like in the middle of the night, we woke up to him at like 3 a.m. just standing by our bed like, hi. And it like totally freaked us out. So Steven went and took him back to his bed. And then maybe the second day, he like showed up at like 6 a.m. in our room, and then we took him back. And then like since then, he's never gotten out of his bed. So after nap, he wakes up and I'll hear him talking on the monitor, and I will go in and get him. He never comes out. That's the same thing in the morning or nap time. Like he just wakes up and he talks, and then we hear him and we'll go in and we'll get him. But he knows he can come out, but he literally doesn't. So I think that what happened was I was just extremely consistent with resetting him and not giving attention to it, not laughing, not being like, Brody, you know, like it wasn't a big deal. I just, every time he'd come out, I'd say, Brody, it's time to sleep. It's nighttime, or it's nap time. And I would just take him right back. And I don't know, like I'm sure it's different for everybody and every different kid. This is just what worked for us. Like I said, it was just me being extremely consistent for a couple of days. It was kind of rough there for like 3 days. And then overnight, like he is obsessed with his bed now. Like, he loves it. He sleeps so good. He loves climbing up there. He's so comfy. He's got his blankets and his covers, and he'll say, "Ah, comfy." He's got his little stuffed animals, and it's awesome. And so I think we just put in a few days of really not, I just didn't give in. No matter if I reset him 300 times, he was gonna go back to his room. And I just didn't give in to him, no matter, like, I just made sure to win. And that way, like, he knew, okay, if I keep coming out, like, mom's just gonna keep putting me back. And so I think that's where it clicked. And so now he knows, like, he stays in his bed and all is good. He gets a good night's sleep, we get a good night's sleep, and it's all good. So I'm gonna insert a clip of me showing you in Brody's room his pillow and the little bumpers that we ordered. Since we got him a twin size bed, there obviously weren't toddler rails, and you can, I think maybe you can buy like wooden or metal or mesh, I don't know, there's all different kinds of toddler rails. But one of my friends told me about these like bumpers from Amazon, and they're inexpensive compared to the other ones and the other types of things like that are out there, and they work great, and they just go right under the fitted sheet. They keep them from rolling out. And we, like I said, did get him a twin size bed and a nice bed frame and everything, and I will link his bed below as well. We love it, it's so nice. But we just didn't put a box spring in it. So you can, but we just did the mattress so that it would be a little bit lower as well. So, okay, so since we're talking about how to transition your toddler to a big bed, I'm just gonna show you quickly a couple of the products that we got early on to help with the whole process. So when we come into Brody's room, so I ordered him this white pillow. This is a toddler pillow from Amazon, and it's just kind of, it's obviously a smaller size. That's like a full size. This is a smaller size. It just comes with like a white pillowcase. It's kind of flatter, because they say that toddlers, since they have smaller, like, you know, they're smaller than adults, it's not good for them to sleep on a full-size adult pillow because of their like neck curve or whatever. So I just ordered him that small pillow, and then this is the other thing that we got. Let me pull up his sheet here. It's like really tough. Okay, so we got these like bumpers. So you can see it's like a foam bumper. And we also got these off of Amazon. This is kind of grippy right here so that it doesn't slide. Here's the brand, Hiccapop. And so he has two of these. He has one on each side of his bed. And basically they go under the fitted sheet, and it acts as like a bed rail. So instead of having like a metal, wooden, or mesh bed rail, there's all different kinds. We just got these, and he doesn't have a toddler bed, he has a twin size bed. So this is what we got to help keep him from rolling out. And they're great. It was crazy though, because they actually came in like a small box from Amazon, and then when you pull them out, they just begin to like slowly inflate, and they get bigger to this size. So you can see how long it is. And these are like awesome. It's like a game changer, because I just think that sometimes he's a crazy sleeper. I'll look at the monitor, he'll be laying sideways, he'll be like at the foot of the bed, he'll be all over the place. And so this kind of helps to keep him from rolling out. And so we actually did get one for each side of the bed. I initially thought, oh, we only need one, but then I read some stuff about if the bed is up against the wall, that sometimes kids can roll and get stuck between the wall and the bed, and that like totally freaked me out. So we did get the 2-pack, and I think they're like $45 for the set. So I feel like it's pretty reasonable. So that was another key product. So I think that is everything for this video. I hope you found this helpful, or this encourages you that maybe it won't be as bad as you think it is. I feel like you just never know until you do it. I certainly wouldn't, for me personally, I wouldn't really recommend like switching your kid until you feel like they're ready. But I think my son was, like I said, he's big for his age. He's really tall, and so he was really too long for the length of the pack and play. So even though he wasn't climbing out, we just really felt like he would be more comfortable, and he made a really smooth transition. So I just encourage you that just don't be stressed out, don't worry about it, just go for it, try it, be consistent, be persistent, and I think your kids will adapt and adjust really well. So yeah, I think sometimes people only tell you the horror stories about everything, but I just wanted to give you a positive spin on how it can be and how your kids can still sleep really, really well in a big bed. So if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it, and consider subscribing. I post new videos every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and just on mom stuff, mom related topics, lifestyle stuff, family vlogs, and I've just been having so much fun with it and enjoying YouTube a lot. So if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.